the dream match that you have been begging for since the retirement tour was announced on Monday Night Raw. It's not at Money in the Bank like you wanted, but it is at Night of Champions in Saudi Arabia coming up at the end of this month. John Cena defends his WWE Championship against CM Punk. How do you feel about it being at Night of Champions in Saudi Arabia? I did it. Try that again. Saudi Arabia.
Hate it that it's happening there. I'm not a fan of it happening there, just because I know even under the new regime, the Saudi Arabia shows are nothing but glorified house shows. They still feel that way to me, which I love the fact that the Rumble's there next year.
At least it wouldn't be a glorified house show there.
It still might be. Like the greatest Royal Rumble might happen again. If we get a moment though where Titus O'Neil slides into the ring.
Wait, did you we haven't talked about the WrestleMania fiasco of it moving from New Orleans to Las Vegas.
No, we haven't.
And that's fine. I don't think there's a whole lot to discuss there. I mean, there was a reason. We're never going to know the reason. I don't think it's worth speculating. But the point that I was going to make was in the week, 2 weeks, or whatever it was that we were up in the air about where WrestleMania was going to be, there was obviously rumors that it was going to be in Saudi Arabia. Now, was it going to happen because of the Royal Rumble already being announced there for next year? So they weren't going to do that.
Yeah.
But did you see the rumor that somebody said, oh, it's going to go to Saudi Arabia and they're going to bill it as the greatest WrestleMania ever? Did you see that?
I did not see that.
I saw that and I literally fell over laughing. Like, that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. Why would they do such a thing?
Oh, you know they're going to do it whenever WrestleMania goes there.
No,
they're going to name it that, the greatest WrestleMania.
Not under the Triple H regime, they won't. That's a Vince thing. I really don't think
it is.
Really.
However, that Saudi money talks, buddy. If it could get Punk to go to Saudi Arabia, that Saudi money talks.
That's fair. Let's get back on track. CM Punk, John Cena main eventing Night of Champions at the end of this month. I'm not the Punk fan that you are, so I'm okay with it happening here, but I'm just glad that the match is actually happening. I was worried, honestly, Andy, that the Elimination Chamber showdown was all we were going to get.
Yeah. Yeah, I kind of was too. I mean, especially when it didn't happen at Money in the Bank, just because it writes itself. Sure. You know, it writes for itself. But I am happy that we are getting this match. I think there is a chance that Punk not walks out with the title, but wins and then gets cashed in on. I think that's a real big possibility. I think it's also a big possibility that Punk is about to win and then Seth costs him and then cashes in on Cena and Seth wins the title that way. However, that is a really bad way to end Cena's last run. Like Cena's last run with the world title.
And
is not great.
Probably a really bad way to, maybe I'm stepping on some toes here, but I'm going to say it. Really bad way to end the only championship reign of CM Punk. I'm not saying he won't win it again. I'm just saying there's a real good possibility that he won't win it again.
You're right. I think there is a really good possibility that he wouldn't win it again. I do think the way that they want to make Punk versus Seth feel different at SummerSlam, if they do that, is put a title on the line.
Yes.
Yes. But if Seth just wins the Money in the Bank briefcase to win the title, then drop it to Punk, that doesn't make sense.
Right.
So that's probably the other reason why I'm not a huge fan of Seth winning it, is just because there's not really a great outcome with him winning it and a long-term outcome. But that being said, I am very excited to see what they do. I think there's going to be a lot of callbacks in their match. There's a lot of callbacks on the promo on Monday. They started off the exact same way he started off the pipe bomb. Just telling them that he hopes he's as uncomfortable as he could be because he has a lot of things he wants to lay out. It was just those little reminisce shots that went back and forth, I thought was done perfectly.
Didn't they do some callbacks during the Elimination Chamber match too?
Yeah.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Yeah. I thought so too. I think it's interesting that you brought up, Seth and cashing in and all that, and that kind of stuff. And we don't know how Roman Reigns fits into that. Obviously, we thought he'd come back at Money in the Bank. That didn't happen. We thought that it would have been a great story for Seth to attempt to cash in on Jey Uso on Monday and Roman be the one to stop him, because Jey Uso, that would have been really, really cool. That didn't happen. But the other person to factor into this is we talked just a few minutes ago how Cody Rhodes factors into all this, because let's play out that scenario that you just said. Rollins cashes in on Punk, and then Punk Rollins at SummerSlam for the championship. Is Cody Cena just not for the championship at SummerSlam? Does it even happen? How does Cody fit into all that? But Andy, on Friday Night SmackDown, Seth Rollins whispered something to Cody Rhodes. That's been, a lot of people have speculated that. A lot of people have forgotten about it. What do you think? How do you think all that shakes out?
I don't really know. Like, I think that's one of the really interesting things about what they've done so far, especially with Seth's new group, is, adding these little moments of intrigue, of just doing, talking to people that he normally wouldn't talk to, or trying, the whole thing with Sami Zayn a couple weeks ago, where they both cut that promo back and forth. Like, stuff like that is really, really interesting. And I think adding Cody to the mix and their history, I think it's a possibility that maybe SummerSlam, Cody beats Cena and Seth cashes in on Cody.
Yeah.
And then that way, like, you're kind of not necessarily put a bow on Cody Cena, but you're moving from it. You're going back to a rivalry that works with Cody and Seth.
Yep.
Maybe earlier that night, or whatever, night one, you have Punk Rollins 1-on-1. Put him in a cell, please. Put him in a cell. Have him go at it, and then maybe he cashes in night two. Punk goes off and does his own thing from here on out. We go Cody, Seth, and then Cena. He's only got 18 dates left, so he's not going to be throughout the rest of the year coming consistently.
17 after this Friday.
Yeah.
16 after Saudi.
Yeah.
We're getting down to it.
We're getting close to it. So I don't think Cena's title run is going to last the whole year.
No, I don't think so either.
So I think now would be a decent time to flip it.
I'll be honest. In asking you that question about Cody, I didn't plan on asking you that question. I don't have an answer for it. But as you're answering it, a thought just creeped into my mind. We've seen Daniel Bryan pose to be a member of the Wyatt family. We've seen Randy Orton pose to be a member of the Authority. What if Cody Rhodes posed a heel turn in this Seth Rollins group and then turned on Seth, imploded it from the inside, and got his championship back that way? What do you think?
I like it. I think it's too early.
Sure. Okay.
For the group. Okay. I think it's too early. But I do think I did think something like that. Maybe like, at SummerSlam or wherever. Maybe even in the King of the Ring. Maybe like Seth and his group help Cody win the King of the Ring tournament. And then, we head into SummerSlam, and maybe it seems like we're going back and forth, and then Cody just defiantly is like, no, I'm not helping you. And then Seth cashes in, or, something like that I could see. Sure. But I think it's very intriguing. I think it's a very intriguing idea to do it at some point. I just feel like it's way too soon to do it within the next couple months.
I mean, you could drag it all the way out and you run Cody Seth back at WrestleMania next year. I mean,
you could.
You're not going to get too many arguments from anybody running that match back. I mean, come on. A 5-star Hell in a Cell match with a torn pec. I mean, good grief. Come on now.
Yeah.
Not that I'm endorsing Dave Meltzer, but he rated it.